Hello, today I will talk about shadow work again. This is the second part, and the shadow work is important to me because it refers to the process of exploring our subconscious, looking for repressed material and looking for reasons why we react and sometimes overreact to the challenges of life. In the subconscious mind, we have so much memories, we have pains, we have sorrows, we have stuff that has been too hard to handle, which we kind of repressed or put away, like aspects of ourselves which maybe need some healing, or maybe need some light, or maybe need some acknowledgement. So when we do acknowledge these repressed parts or aspects of ourselves, then we can also integrate them and we can become more whole. So to me, it's all about healing. It's about becoming healthy and respond in a healthy way to the challenges that life throws at you, because it's absolutely normal to have all these negative emotions that sometimes we don't speak so much about, because as I said last week, we tend to share when we're in a happy mode or we have positive things to share, and we don't share that much when we're feeling sad or depressed or angry or jealous or worried or depressed or disappointed. We can sometimes simply be disappointed with life. But all these emotions and these states of mind are normal. We all have them, we all experience them to different degrees, because some of us feel more this way than the other way, and we have different experience in our lives. But I'm sure you know all about that. But to me, what's important with the shadow work is that we take it seriously, that we actually do work on ourselves continuously. I'm not saying that you have to do shadow work every day, all day, throughout your life, but regularly checking in to what we have suppressed or aspects of ourselves that we're not really acknowledging helps us. It helps us feel better, it helps us live better, and as I say, meet the challenges that we meet in life in a much healthier way. But also it helps our relationships, because very often our emotions they are kind of the biggest obstacles between people, because we don't understand each other's reactions, and sometimes we don't even understand our own reactions. So for instance, let's say maybe you get really jealous, and you know that you don't really have a reason to be that jealous, or you get very angry or very sad and you don't really know why. You don't know why the intensity of this feeling is so enormous right now. Or maybe it's also on repeat, that you see that every time you come into a quarrel and a disagreement or something, you get really angry. Or maybe the opposite, you get really sad, you get powerless, you feel depressed, you feel worthless. I mean, that all these different ways of reacting, but everything can be dealt with. We can see things, we can acknowledge things, we can integrate parts of ourselves if we are doing shadow work regularly. So that's a spiritual it's a spiritual aspect which is incredibly important if we want to take it seriously, how to be human. And as my guide Hilarion said, don't try so hard to be angels. He really wants us to be human, deal with human emotions and the human challenges, and recognize that we have these flaws, or we have these negative emotions that we don't want to have and which are not pleasant, but we will need to learn how to deal with them. And if we don't recognize, if we don't accept that we have them, then it's impossible to deal with them. And if we keep suppressing and repressing painful situations, painful experiences that we have throughout our lives, it will be very difficult to respond in a proper way to present situations that pop up. So last week I talked about the first step in shadow work, which is to connect, create some kind of connection between you and the world around you. And you can do that, of course, in many ways. Some people connect through meditation and so forth. But for most of us, when we're dealing with difficult things, it's important to go out of our brain, out of this continuous thought process that we're in, through our senses, connect to the world. So it means not thinking about the world, not thinking about our problems, but connecting to the world through our smell, through tasting, to hearing, to seeing, to touching, to recognizing that you're sitting on a chair, for instance, because then you go out of yourself and you're out of your own thought process and you get external stimuli in a way that makes your aura or energy field wider, and you can receive more help. And we always need some help when we're doing shadow work this way or the other, either from trees around us or a lake or nature in all possible ways, or from our room, but we need to be present. So we need to train ourselves to be present in the moment if we're going to deal with something in the past. That's really, really important. And if you're in deep sorrow or pain or have very deep issues right now, I always suggest that you find a therapist or a friend or a person, someone who can assist you in getting the help you need. Today, it's about the second part of shadow work is about observing your emotions. Now, that seems to be quite an easy thing because we could, go a little bit aside and step aside and look at our emotions and see how we feel. But we seldom do that because we don't have much training in doing that. So we experience the emotions from the inside, but very often we are not really observing what we're feeling. And the other thing is that when we get a little bit detached to the feeling so that we not only feel it, but we can see, like I can recognize that I'm sad, I can recognize that I'm angry, then I can also take responsibility for that feeling. And we're coming to that in a later video. Right now, what's important is to use the tool, at least one tool, which I really love to get to know your emotions, and that is journaling. So today's tips is start journaling. And I know some people really don't like writing and they don't like to write a long diary and read all this text later. They'll just put it away and they don't really want to, it's not their thing. For other people, it's a really nice way. Maybe you're already journaling. But what I'm saying right now, if we're going to do shadow work through journaling, then it is very important where we have the focus. So then it's not necessary to write a lot of text. You can even write it on your mobile, on your notes on your mobile, for instance, every night before you go to sleep. Or if you have a very busy week and you won't manage that, decide to do it on Sundays. Let's find a time on Sundays where you sit down. But if you can do it every day, it's really helpful because then you can do it really short and sweet. So what you do is you ask yourself, how did I feel today? How do I feel right now? And now I'm talking emotions. Now I'm not talking the senses. I'm actually talking, how do I feel? Do I feel sad? Do I feel happy? Do I feel empty? How do I feel? And sometimes it's maybe the same word every day, and then you can maybe scale it and say, I'm very sad or very little sad, or even put numbers on it. Doesn't matter how you do it. Write in your journal or on your phone every day or every Sunday a little bit about how you feel. And the focus you have is what happened that made me feel this or that. So let's say I came into work, somebody said this and I felt like this. Or I came home from work and opened a door and came into my apartment. I was all alone and I felt, So then it's enough to write, come home alone and felt. Maybe I felt alone. Maybe I felt tired. Maybe I felt relieved. Maybe I felt whatever. But it's when you start doing that regularly, you can also see when you kind of overreact, when you got very, very sad that you were alone, or very, very angry at someone who said something or did something. And when you write it down, it's easy to go back and see, aha, so here is a pattern. Because when it comes to our emotions, all of them are normal. It's totally normal to feel the entire spectrum of emotions. We normally have some emotions that we use more often than others. But when we are doing shadow work, we're looking for patterns. Can I see a pattern here? Is it so that every time my mother calls, I feel this way? Do I overreact whenever I see a sunny day because I don't feel joyful and everybody's joyful and I can't feel that? Whatever is the pattern that is occurring, you will see that when you start journaling. And also, there's always the possibility of you being surprised for what kind of things you will see when you actually observe your emotions this way. Now, there is a very important thing about observing ourselves and our emotions, and that is we have a policy of no judgment. There cannot be judgment if you want to do spiritual work, personal work, shadow work. You cannot judge yourself for feeling this way or finding that emotion. Of course we do, but then we have to tell ourselves that, okay, I'm doing shadow work now, so I'm actually working from a place of love. I'm working from a place of authenticity. I'm working from a place which is really deep in me, because I want to look at something that I've buried. And if I want to take that up, I must be gentle. I must, look at one thing at a time and not be judgmental about it. Not hit myself in the head and say you're hopeless. And when I do, just have to, again, accept that I did and keep working, write it down, write all those things down in a word, in 5 words, in a sentence, but as often as you decide, decide for every day before you go to bed, or every Sunday at this, or some routine, so that you get a routine of how you work your shadows. Now, there's one more thing that I have to say. And when we're doing shadow work, we're only working with ourselves. So I'm only looking at my own emotional reactions. I'm seeing what I can adjust. If I find through my work that I overreact to something, which I talked about last week, my overreaction to sound, which I could really freak out from, then I'm looking at my reactions and I'm trying to pull it back, because I want to get my power back. Very often when we have experienced negative things and we have repressed aspects of ourselves, it's because we didn't have the power in the moment to deal with it. But now we have, when we're present in the here and now, and we do have the power to do something about it, and this makes us take back our own power, then I'm not blaming anyone anymore. I'm just taking back the power of keeping my emotions mine, and decide how I can work my emotions so that I don't have to overreact to the world, but I do have to react with authenticity, with my own honesty towards myself, and of course to the people around me as well. This creates better relations, and more than anything, it helps you heal old wounds and old patterns that we've created from the past. So if you like this, please subscribe to my channel, and let's share some love.